friends, it's Christy. Welcome to day 9 of my 2018 holiday card series. Today I'm going to be making a shadow box card using Lawn Fawn's Joy to the Woods. So I'm stamping my images out on some Copic friendly cardstock with Memento Tuxedo black ink, and I'll be coloring with my Copic markers today. I'm starting with my fox, and for him I'm using YR14, YR16, and YR18. I'm going to take that YR18 first and lay in some shadows. So it's going to be anywhere that the sun would not hit. So it's going to be on the underside of his tail, the backs of his legs, a little bit under his belly and under his head, and then a little bit on the alongside the back just to give it that rounded appearance, and then on either side of his head and to accentuate his nose as well. Then I'm going to grab the YR16 and begin to blend that out. I actually made a mistake and accidentally grabbed the YR14 instead. I always get those markers confused because the YR14 has the darker cap. So I always think that that's darker as when I'm just grabbing them. So I ended up skipping the YR16 altogether, and I'm going to add in the YR04 instead. So the YR14 became my mid-tone, and then the YR04 is going to be the highlighted shade. Once I finish up my fox, I'm going to use the YR04 to color in the cardinal's beak and feet. For the white areas of my fox, I'm using W00 and W1. I'm going to pull a little bit of that W1 down from the tail and from either side of his cheek areas, and then blend that a little bit with the W00. For the fallen log, I'm going to use E43, E44, E47, and E49. I'm going to start down at the bottom with the E49 and then also accentuate the little lines and swirls that the artist has drawn. And then I'll pull that color up with the E47, and again just repeat those steps, outlining those little areas so that they have some texture to them. Then I'll come in with the E44 and pull that almost all the way to the top and fill in the rest with the E43. Before I put all those markers away, I'll use the E47 to color in the fox's nose, and then I'm going to grab the E44 to color in his feet. The chipmunk I'm going to color with E21, E23, E25, and E27. I'm going to use the lightest 3 shades on the main part of his body, so I'm starting with the E25, laying in some shadows along his back and on the underside again of his body. Then I'm blending out with the E23, and I kept that pretty sparing with the dark colors because I wanted him to be a considerably lighter shade than the stripe that's going to run down his back. So I filled in all the rest of him with the E21, and then for the outer areas I'm going to switch to the E27 and again just lay in some shadows. I'm being sparing again using the tip of my marker so I get really nice and close in those tiny little areas, and then I'll blend all of that out with the E25. For the cardinal, I'm using my favorite red combo, R29, R39, and R59. Starting with the R59, I put a little shadow on the underside of his wing and alongside his tail, and then a little bit up from the top of his head as well. Then I'm pulling that out with the R39, and then I'll fill in all the rest of those areas with the R29, and I'm being really careful not to color over his little white eye. I'm just going to leave that white so it stands out nicely. I'm going to use the R39 and the R29 to color in the little holly berries. And then I'll finish up the leaves with some greens. I'm using G21, G24, and G28. Starting with the G28, I added a little bit of depth close to those berries, and I'm blending towards the tips with the G24, and then finishing up with the G21. And then I'll just trim all these out with the matching dies. So I've also trimmed out 3 tree trunks and 3 green trees from the Lawn Fawn Shadow Box card dies. And then I also trimmed out the trees again in white and die cut those in half because I wanted it to look as if the snow has just covered the tops of the evergreens. So I'm going to just glue these all together with my Lawn Fawn glue tube and set these aside to dry. So I've trimmed out 2 panels out of red cardstock, but before I assemble the shadow box card, I want to do my stamping of my sentiment on the back. So I'm using the sentiment that says Joyful Wishes and a couple of snowflakes, and I'm stamping those down in Lawn Fawn walnut ink. And then I also need a little sentiment for the front of the card. So I'm using a little placard from Ready Set Snow, and that's the sentiment that I stamped. And then I wanted a little bit of a sky in the background so it wouldn't just be red. So I'm going to stamp a couple more snowflakes onto this aqua piece of cardstock that's going to go in the back of the shadow box. So I'm actually going to adhere that down now. I think it'll be a lot easier to do while the card is flat. So I just used the glue tube once again and then made sure it was centered on that back panel that does not have the cutout in it. From the front one, I did the cutout from the Ocean add-on. I really liked the wider edge with that scalloped opening. I thought that would be something nice for Christmas. So now I'm removing the score tape that I'm using to assemble my shadow box card. I use the 1/8 of an inch score tape because it's nice and thin and really fits on those little tabs that hold everything together. Before I close up my box, I'm also going to add some snowdrifts. And for something different, I decided to actually use the ocean waves from the shadow box card Ocean add-on. I thought it would give the snowdrifts a little bit more of a windswept look, which I thought would be kind of cool and different. So I went ahead and attached those little panels on one side, and then I'm going to fold them flat and line them up, peel off the backer sheets from the other tape, and then close the right flap of my card. Then I'm going to peel up that additional tape and then adhere the left side together. So that's how it forms that little box. And then you can fold that back and forth a few times just to get it moving nice and easy. It stands up really nice. So now I can begin to adhere my images. I'm starting with my fox since that's the largest. And I adhered that on the second snowdrift over on the right hand side. I added my chipmunk to the fallen log, and I'm going to adhere that to the back of the front snowdrift over on the left, trying to stagger my images around the scene to create the illusion of depth. I'm going to add a couple of bare trees to the background, and by the way, I'm adhering everything with mini glue dots. So if the mini glue dots are even too big for like the fox's feet, I just rolled them up with my fingertips ahead of time to kind of get them to be skinny enough to fit behind those images. I find that working with a dry adhesive like this is a lot easier than trying to use a wet one and waiting for it to dry and hold things in place. The other good thing about that is as long as you don't press down too hard, you can kind of move things around and pull it back up until you're happy with the look. I'm going to take the little holly berries and add that to one end of the fallen log just to give it a festive look. And then I'll add my cardinal over on the right hand side on the front snowdrift. To finish off the shadow box card, I'm going to add my front sentiment, and I just used a little bit more of that score tape behind that, making sure that it's nice and straight. And that is going to complete the card for today. These actually are so nice and easy to make. They look so complicated. Anybody who would get this in the mail would just be blown away, I would think. Also, they fold completely flat, so they fit in a standard size envelope without any additional postage. They're just really awesome and fun to make. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this different kind of card for day 9. And if you did, please be sure to give the video a thumbs up, and you can subscribe if you'd like. Here's 2 extra videos from day 9 of the previous 2 years of holiday card series. If you'd like to keep on watching, you can click on either one of those. I hope you all have an amazing day. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.